area, your back, your face, completely relaxed. Then return your chin back to the mat. And turn your hands around, palms against towards the floor. Bend your knees here, bring your heels towards your back. And now you're going to reach for your feet with each hand. So the right hand goes to the outside of the right foot, and the same thing with the left hand. It goes to the outside of the left foot. Now if you cannot reach your feet, you can always use a strap to put it around your feet, and then you can hold on to the strap. Now your knees will naturally open up, and try to keep your thighs parallel with each other. Very good. And then press your feet onto your hands. Yeah, just press it. Very good. And try to keep it that way for the duration of this pose. Now with your next inhale, go ahead and gently lift up your chin, your chest, and your thighs away from the mat. Actively press the tops of your feet onto your hands, looking forward, or maybe even a little bit higher if that's possible. Try to keep your thighs parallel with each other as much as possible. Very good. So we want to avoid compression in the shoulders and in the neck. So gently move the shoulders a little bit away from the ears. Beautiful. Stay here, breathe. And again, if you notice your knees are opening up, consciously, actively bring them a little bit more back together. Beautiful. One more breath here. With an exhale, gently lower the thighs. Gently lower your feet. Try not to drop them. Bring your arms by your sides, right ear to the mat. Let your heels move away and completely relax your body here. Now these positions, as you can tell, demand a lot from your back and from your shoulders. So we do them very gently. Try not to push yourself beyond your limit. And try to take these mini shavasana in between to allow your muscles to completely relax in between each position. So we engage and we release. One more time, same position. So legs together, bend the knees, heels toward the back, reach for your feet here. Again, making sure that the shoulders are not compressed here. Use a strap if you need to. With your next inhale, press your feet onto your hands, lift up the chest, lift up the thighs away from the mat. Very good. So when you have a chance to practice a position twice, you have an option in terms of what you can do with the second round. In this round, if you just want to take it a bit easier, simply because you found out that this position today is maybe not a position that you want to spend too much time in, you can just take it very easy in the second round. However, second round could also give you an opportunity to go a little bit deeper into this position, maybe open up a little bit more. In this case, maybe you can lift up the thighs a little bit more away from the mat. Just see where you are and what you want to do with your second round of this position. One more breath here. Inhale. As you exhale, gently lower the thighs, your feet to the mat, left ear to the mat. Let your heels roll away, palms open, body completely relaxed. Then you're going to bring your chin to the mat or forehead to the mat. Return your hands and arms in cobra position. You have an option of taking cobra here or an upward dog. So as you inhale, come to cobra or upward dog. Now as you exhale, we're going to slowly press the floor away and make our way to downward dog. But take your time here. come out of this position very slowly, gently, bend the knees, yeah? So press the floor away. And downward dog. Allow a little bit of a bend in the knees now, and allow your entire back to release down toward the mat. Very good. We're going to take 3 breaths here. Now that your hamstrings have opened up a little bit more, feel free to shift a little bit more weight towards your heels. By no means press your heels down if you have tight hamstrings. Just shift your body weight a little bit more. And that will encourage your feet to gently close them, move toward the mat. Very good. One more breath here. And then from here, walk your hands towards your feet, coming into Uttanasana, forward bend. As you walk your hands towards your feet, walk your feet a little bit apart so that they're hips distant apart. And then allow the entire upper body to fold over the legs. Relax your head and neck, no tension in the back of the neck. Allow your entire spine to release forward. This is very helpful for all the positions, the back bend positions that you did on the mat. Now with your next inhale, come halfway up, flat back, looking forward. Exhale, fold forward. Inhale, come back up, reach up, look up, fingers touching above the head. Exhale, hands in front of your heart. Just take a moment here to notice how you feel and to notice how you're breathing. And then release your arms. Now, standing where you are, again, checking with your feet, keep your feet hips distant apart. Toes are lifted up away from the mat. Spread your toes in the air and then gently return them to the mat. Take a look at your feet. See if you can spot the color of the mat between each of your toes. And then gently press the center of your heels down toward the mat. Very good. We're going to come into Tadasana, mountain pose. Open the palms toward the front of the room. Legs are engaged, you're active, and you're pressing your heels down. One more breath here. Inhale. Now as you exhale, you're going to bend your knees here, lowering the tailbone toward the floor. You're going to come down so that the tips of your middle fingers can touch the mat. Notice that your thighs are parallel with each other and you have some distance between your knees. And then send the arms up. You can either keep your arms apart, looking up, or bringing your hands together, looking in the direction of your hands. This is chair pose or Utkatasana. Actively press your heels down, keeping your back nicely flat so the tailbone is tucked in a little bit toward the floor. If you're reaching up with the arms, make sure that the shoulders are not compressed here, so lower the shoulders a little bit. Spread your fingers here, active hands. Very good. Stay with your breath. Your thighs are completely engaged. All the muscles around your knees are engaged. Stay here, breathe. Inhale here. As you exhale, fold forward. Inhale, come halfway up. Exhale, bring your hands to the mat and then walk your hands toward the top line of your mat until you are in plank position. bend your elbows, chaturanga. Inhale, come to cobra or upward dog, your choice. Exhale, downward dog. Very good. Now from here, we're going to lower the knees to the mat and come into child pose. Now there are two ways of taking child pose here. There's an active version of child pose and just a regular version of child pose. So do whichever that serves you the best right now. So the regular version you saw at the beginning of the class with elbows and forehead down. But the active version is that you come into your fingertips as if you have tennis balls under your hands, keeping the elbows up and your head between the upper arms. Now obviously you can take the more passive version. You can even bring the arms by your sides. This is also, could potentially feel really nice. Wherever you are in this position, draw the attention to your breath and just take a moment to notice how you're breathing. Now with your next inhale, slowly, gently, lift up the forehead, the elbows if you haven't done that already, and begin walking your hands in the direction of your body. As you straighten your back, you can bring your knees back together. And then from here, we're going to bring the hands next to the legs, walk them a bit forward until the tailbone comes up, tuck the toes behind you. Now here, bring your knees hips distant apart. Your thighs are parallel with each other. If you already feel a lot of tension on your knees, simply because the surface under the knees is very hard, especially if you're using a very thin mat, you can always double up the mat underneath your knees, and this will give it a little bit of a cushion. If you have socks or clothes, you could also put it under your knees and it will do the same thing for you. Now, from here, we're going to slowly walk the hands and come and sit on the heels, as Peter is demonstrating here. If you have very uncomfortable feeling in your toes, you can always lean a little bit forward to shift the body weight forward. Otherwise, stay here just for a few breaths. Keep your back nice and tall. Shoulders are relaxed, hands on your thighs, looking forward. Just stretching your shoulders here. Make sure the body weight is equally distributed on your heels. You might have to swing a little bit to the right, a little bit to the left to find that right spot where you feel that your upper body weight is taken equally by your feet. Very good. Now bring your arms by your sides. Now we're gonna lift the upper body up so that the hips come over the knees. But we're gonna do that in a very special way. The way we do it is that we're gonna keep our back straight as we come up. So I'll demonstrate this one time. So as I inhale, back is straight, coming back up, hips over the knees. Yeah? And then as you lower it, it's the same thing. Keep your back straight, gently with full control, come and sit on the heels. Try not to drop yourself on the heels. It will be quite painful. So we'll do this one more time. Inhale, come back up, flat back, hips forward. Exhale, lower the tailbone, return to your heels. Now with the next breath, we're going to engage the arm. So as we come up, bring also the arms up. Exhale, flat back, lower the arms, sit on the heels. Inhale and exhale. Inhale and exhale. One more time. Inhale and exhale. I think you know where I'm going with this position. So as you're sitting on your heels, bring your hands and cup them over your heels. Yeah, so you might have to lift yourself up a little bit to cup your hands over the heels here. Yeah? Keep the back of the neck nice and tall here. If your shoulders have moved down, bring them up and back. Bring your shoulder blades toward each other in your back. So you're opening the chest, opening the shoulders here. Bend the elbows. Very good. Now with your next inhale, you're going to do exactly the same thing as before, except that your hands are going to stay on your heels. We're going to come into camel position. Keep your chin toward the chest as you do this. So as you inhale, you're going to lift yourself up and bring the hips forward. Very good. So your arms are straight here, and we have different variations. Sometimes you're holding on to your heels with your hands, or sometimes only your fingertips are resting on the heels. Wherever your hand is, it's okay, as long as it's supported by your feet here, and as long as your hips are pointing forward and remaining over your knees. One way to do that at home, or you could also do it in your imagination, is to think that there's a wall in front of you and you're pressing the front of your thighs against the wall. Yeah, so your thighs are in full contact with the wall. Inhale here. Exhale slowly, gently. You're going to come back and return to the heels. Bring your hands forward. Just take a moment here to notice where you are, how you feel. Feel free to close your eyes if that helps. If your toes are uncomfortable, you could also lower the tops of your feet to the mat and just sit here for a moment. Now you have a chance to practice this position 2 more times, and I'll give some variations. Feel free to follow these variations or do what you feel is best for you. If this was already too much for you, it's okay. You can just take a break at this moment. You can come to child pose or just take a seated meditation. So, as we get ready for the second round, again, come to the fingertips, return the toes to the mat, and come and sit on your heels here. Very good. And then bring your hands and cup them over your heels. Very good. Then with your next inhale, you're going to lift yourself up and bring the hips over the knees. Very good. Again, remember that imaginary wall in front of you, and you're pressing the front of your thighs against the wall. Very good. If you feel okay with your neck, especially if you don't have any neck injuries or any recent neck injuries, you can allow your head to fall back. When you do this, keep your eyes open, observe what you see. Very good. And the action of your hips is always forward, so you're sending the hips forward. When you're ready to come out of this pose, first bring your chin back to the chest, and then slowly, gently lower your tailbone in the direction of your feet, and then just take a break. No rush, just notice how you feel. Camel position or any deep back bend position has the tendency to bring out a lot of different emotions in different people. So just be observant of what is happening with yourself, with your body, with your breath, with your mind as you come out of the position or even during the position, and observe them very objectively. Try not to form any judgment towards yourself. Now we'll do this one more time. Now, another way to do this position, if you want to go a little bit deeper especially, is that instead of coming to your toes here, you bring the tops of your feet down. Yeah? So you come and sit on the tops of your heels with the tops of the feet attached to the mat. Now you can lift yourself up a little bit here and then put your hands, again, cup them over your heels in this position. Yeah? Again, roll the shoulders so that the shoulders move back, shoulder blades come together. And then with your next inhale, you're going to do the same thing. Come back up, hips are forward. You will immediately notice that you have to reach a little bit more to hold on to your heels. So this position definitely deepens the back bend. Again, actively send your hips forward. If you like, you can let your head fall back, eyes open. Very good. And breathe here. Again, be observant of how you feel, an objective observer. Whenever you feel that you've had enough to come out of the pose, first bring your chin back to the chest, and then slowly, gently lower the tailbone toward the feet. Now from here, lower the tops of your feet to the mat, close your eyes, hands on your thighs, and just take a moment here to see what's happening in the body, how you feel. And then slowly open your eyes. As a counter position, we're going to come into child pose again. So allow your knees to be wide open. Big toes are in contact behind you, and slowly walk your hands forward as you lower your body toward the mat. Relax the forehead and elbows. Now if you have a partner in the house, someone that you feel comfortable with, it could feel really nice, especially at this moment after all the back bends in child pose, to gently press on the sacrum. So I will demonstrate how this is done. So make sure your hands are warm so you won't give a shock to your partner. And then you place your hands on the sacrum, fingers pointing away from each other, and then gently bend your knees and gently press the sacrum down. Watch out for any clues your partner gives you. If you see that they don't want to go to this position, decrease the pressure. And then very slowly let go of the sacrum, decreasing the pressure and removing your hands. And go ahead and gently lift up the head, walk your hands toward the body as you lift yourself up. Also feel free to stay a little bit longer in child pose if that serves you better. Try not to rush out of it. Now from here, you're going to bring your feet together and to one side and then in front of you. Now in this position, bring your hands under your shoulders. Feet are hips distant apart, and then gently let your knees come to the right. Keep your shoulders and the upper body a little bit in a neutral position so you feel the twist here. It's a very gentle twist. And then knees return back to where they were, and this time drop them to the left. And we'll just do this a couple of times. Just to release any tension from the spine, from the hips. good. And then return your knees to where they are. Now at this point, if you like to put on an extra jacket or your socks, feel free to do that, or just some warmth. If your house is warm already, you probably don't need that. And you could also take a sip of water if you need that. And then come and lie down on your back. We'll go through a few positions before the final position. So, as you come down and lie down on your back, go ahead and bend your knees, bring your knees toward the chest, giving yourself a hug here, and feel free to roll the body a little bit to the right, a little bit to the left, massaging your back here, keeping the back of the head on the mat, chin a little bit toward the chest. And then once you've done that a couple of times, lower your feet to the mat. Now as you lower your feet to the mat, we're going to keep the feet hips distant apart. So again, there's a little bit of a distance between your knees, thighs are parallel, and arms are relaxed by your sides here. Now, if you use one hand and bring it to your low back, you will maybe notice that there's a little bit of a space in the low back area. That's where your arch is. Now, in the next position, we're going to try to get rid of that space by pressing the back towards the mat. So, when you're ready, go ahead and press your low back and sacrum in the direction of the mat, gently. And then once they come into contact with the mat, stay there. Yeah, keep them there. So at this point, your entire spine is in contact with the mat. Breathe naturally. Relax the shoulders. And then go ahead and release. So let the arch to return. We'll do this a few more times. So again, when you're ready, go ahead and press your low back to the mat. Get rid of that extra space between your back and the mat. Stay there. And release. One more time. When you're ready, press the low back again toward the mat. Stay there. It's a really nice way of releasing any last bit of tension from your low back. And release. Of course, you can do this a couple of more times if that feels good in your back. And then from here, we're going to come into thread the needle position. So in this position, we're going to bring the right ankle over the left knee. Point the toes of the right foot toward your right knee, and then lift up the left knee, bring it toward the chest. Then your right hand goes between the legs to the back of your left knee, and your left hand comes also to the right hand. Interlace your fingers, and then gently draw the left knee toward the body as you send the right knee away from the body. And if you have long arms, you could also hold on to the front of your left knee. Now, wherever you are, you want to make sure that your shoulders are not suffering in this position. So if you notice that your shoulders are working really hard, you might want to first of all hold to the back of the knee as opposed to the front of the knee. You might want to allow a little bit of a bend in the elbows and consciously releasing the shoulders, the back of the shoulders down toward the mat. You could also, when you're doing this at home, rest the bottom of your left foot against a wall. And once you do that, then you can release your arms completely, and that there's no tension on the shoulders. That's just one way of doing it with the help of a wall. Now, thread the needle position. It's the kind of position that it's quite good to keep it for maybe a few minutes. So if you have the time to do that, please go ahead and do that. Um, it's not going to hurt you if you hold this position for several minutes, especially if you're using a wall. You can really rely on the wall and let it support you. It could be a very relaxing pose. Those of you who are suffering from sciatica, this position is really good as it creates a lot of space in the area of your sciatic nerves. It stretches that area. So you can practice this position. And when you're ready, slowly lower your left foot to the mat. Letting go of your knee and then bringing the right foot down. And then we're going to switch the body. So this time, the left leg will go, the left ankle will go over the right knee. As you do this, make sure that the left toes are pointing toward the left knee, and then gently lift up the right knee, bring it toward the chest. Reach for the back of your right knee with your hands. Notice that the toes of your right foot is relaxed, meaning that they're pointing kind of down, but the toes of your left foot are flexed, they're active, so they're pointing toward your knee. Very good. Make sure your low back or your sacrum stay in contact with the mat. The action is that your sacrum is anchored to the mat. It's moving in that direction. Now, as you encourage the right knee to move toward the chest, send your left knee away from the chest. So you have these two opposing movements, and try to keep this opposing movement during the duration of this pose. Relax your jaw, relax your face, relax the back of your shoulders if that's possible toward the mat. It's also a very good opportunity for you to think about how you feel, to notice how you feel in this position on this side and compare it with the previous position on the other side of the body. To spot any differences. Perhaps you will notice maybe one side of the body needs a little bit more attention, maybe can benefit a little bit more by holding this position a bit longer. Or you may not notice any differences, and that's completely okay. And go ahead and gently lower your foot to the mat. And bring your left foot also down to the mat. Bring your knees toward the chest, giving yourself a hug here. You can stay here for a few breaths, or you could maybe roll a little bit to the right, a little bit to the left, massaging your back if that feels right. And then come into stillness. And with your next inhale, bring your forehead in the direction of your knees. Exhale, return your head to the mat. 2 more times. Inhale, forehead toward the knees. Exhale, head to the mat. Inhale. Exhale. Now we're going to come into happy baby position. So knees wide apart, bend the knees as much as possible. Bring the bottom of your feet toward the ceiling as you reach for the sides of each foot with your hand. Lower your sacrum, your low back in the direction of the mat. If you cannot reach for your feet, reach for your ankles. That's also okay. Again, see if you could lower the back of the shoulders toward the mat as much as possible. And if you notice that your sacrum is lifting up, lower your sacrum by bending your knees maybe a little bit more. see what you can do, what kind of adjustment you can make in order to lower the sacrum toward the mat. Now, some people like to swing in this position, a little bit to the right, a little bit to the left. If that feels good for you, why not? Give it a shot. And then, with the help of your hands, bring your knees back together. Close your legs. And from here, lower your feet to the mat as we get ready for Shavasana, the final position. A couple of options. If you have a bolster, I recommend that you use the bolster underneath your knees. Peter, is that okay if I put them? If you don't have a bolster, you could roll up a blanket into the shape of a bolster and then place it under the knees. That's good. Still okay? And then you will have your knees wide apart. Your feet are moving away from each other, arms by your sides, palms open toward the ceiling. Your body is completely relaxed. Now here we have also an eye case that I'm going to put on Peter's eyes. It blocks the light and it also gives a little bit of a gentle pressure on the face so that the eye muscles can also relax. Now if you have a blanket, by all means cover yourself because you're going to stay in position for 5 to 10 minutes, maybe longer if you really like. So you want to make sure that your body remains warm. Very good. So Shavasana is the final position. It's a relaxation position. It's a position that you keep for several minutes, encouraging your body to be free of movement and encouraging your mind to be free of thoughts as much as possible. So make sure that you're not falling asleep in Shavasana. So your mind is awake, you're completely aware of your surrounding, but the attention of the mind is on the breath. Yeah? So just take a moment right now as you close your eyes, just to notice how you feel in the body, to notice any sensations you may be experiencing in the body. And as always, notice these sensations objectively. Try not to like or dislike them, just accept them for what they are. And as soon as you notice them, let them go. Once you've had a chance to observe the body, bring the attention to your breath. And notice how you're breathing. And try to keep the attention of your mind on the breath for the next several minutes. If you become distracted by a thought, just take a moment to notice what's distracting you. Then let go of it and bring the attention back to the breath. And when it's time, I will gently bring you back. And slowly begin to lengthen each breath. And gently moving your toes and fingers as if you're slowly waking yourself up. And with your next inhale, bring your arms above the head onto the floor behind you for one final stretch of the entire body. And then return the arms to your sides. Bend your knees and come to your right side. You can use your arm as a pillow underneath your head. And then press the floor away and come to a seated position. Bring your hands in front of your heart. As always, may your practice bring happiness to you and to those around you. Namaste.
Namaste.
Thank you everyone for checking out this video. Please do get in touch with us if you have any questions. We will do our best to release these kind of videos once in a while, so to help you keep up with your practice for the next coming weeks. Thank you.